Evidently, according to the Washington Post, the week after Trump took over the Kennedy Center, when I guess he's now Grand Poobah of the Kennedy Center, whatever, he fired everybody else. He's now in charge. Evidently, ticket sales dropped by 50%. First week, shocking. Because, hey, who wants to see, actual entertainers? Who wants to actually see accomplished operations? Musicians who when you could get the January 6th criminals and their prison quartet. Uh, Shocking that no one would want to pay to see that nonsense. Anyway, here to share some thoughts on where we are and the fun, the entertainment as the dumpster burns. I've asked our good friend Sarah Burris to come share some thoughts with us. Sarah's a reporter at Raw Story, rawstory.com, the website. Sarah, thanks for taking time for us.
Hey, how the heck are you?
So shocking that the Kennedy Center ticket prices have plummeted 50% in the week after. I would think probably more as the lineup of the January 6th criminals quartet and other what were those two girls who were waving the flag and marching with the flag underwear, whatever they were singing this the dear leader song. I don't think people want to pay for that.
No, especially this area of the country. The problem is that, you have Washington, D.C., which voted 90% for Kamala Harris. And, you've got the Maryland and Virginia and Northern Virginia areas. So who's going to come and see those shows? Those people. So if you take over the Kennedy Center and decide to make it your own special, TV show or whatever,
Special.
your own little Lawrence Welk hour, then nobody else is going to want to go.
Oh God, that just put an image in my head. The MAGA Welk, like a Lawrence Welk version of MAGA. Oh, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe we should be doing that. Maybe we need that. Maybe give them a little entertainment. Maybe a little reflection of who they are, and maybe even they'll be repulsed by themselves.
I think the problem is that, you can't keep the Kennedy Center alive without ticket sales and without, donations and all of that. So I don't know if his plan is to try and bankrupt the Kennedy Center and then buy it. I don't really know.
There's an idea. Devalue it to the point to where it has to be sold off for pennies on the dollar. Maybe turn it into a hotel.
God help us.
But we do find out that Trump's spending a lot of effort and a lot of time monetizing his merch to fund his agenda. Evidently, they're selling the "Make Greenland Great Again" gear, the Gulf of America stuff, and the Doge T-shirts, the doggy style T-shirts, and evidently Dark MAGA is now a thing.
Yeah, and all of it I think you can get in a cozy form as well for your beer, or soda of choice. What else is there? There's all kinds of there's definitely t-shirts and gear, but there's also, stuff for your golf bags. And I've dug through some of this stuff and it is something else, but it sells. And I think I don't know what their vendor model is, if they have a vendor who makes something for whoever orders it, and maybe that's how they're spending a profit. I'm not really sure, because I can't imagine a bunch of those fuzzy heads that you put on top of your golf clubs selling out. I don't know.
See, I'm all in favor of it. I'm a big believer of. There was that one hillbilly guy who here's your sign. I don't remember what his name was. Comedian. Here's your sign. To me, that's the sign. You're marking yourself. I now know everything I need to know about you.
It's true. And I think the first time around, whenever we did this, we sort of started talking about it, the red hats, as being like the Starbelly Sneetches, from Dr. Seuss, where, they're just self-identifying. And, I think in areas of the country where they're in the majority, that makes total sense. Around here, you're going to get booed.
And even in my area, I'm seeing a drop. I haven't seen a lot of Trump flags lately. I haven't seen a lot of a lot of those outward delays, outward displays, even some of the big monster trucks have the stickers seem to be fading. And I got to tell you, I think the agenda that's being pushed not very popular, even with the faithful, who look, you're doing all the stuff to make those others uncomfortable. Where we're owning the libs, but there's a lot of stuff that's hitting a little close to home.
Yeah, and this is the stuff that I was saying, several weeks ago, where I was like, you really need people to take to the streets if they really want to enact change, if they really want to fight back. And finally, this is not just, people marching. This is people showing up at town hall meetings and scaring the hell out of their elected officials. It's a lot. It reminds me a lot of what we saw with the Tea Party in 2010, when Barack Obama pushed through the Affordable Care Act, and everybody was like up in arms about it. And they were really furious, and all of these people showed up at town halls. This is that same sort of thing. Before it was being co-opted, it had been co-opted by the Koch brothers and whatnot. But yeah, like you're finally starting to see people in very Republican districts show up and be incredibly hacked off. You're seeing Democrats too. I think finally people are starting to approach Democrats and be like, what are you doing?
Right.
You're not doing anything.
No, look, the people that you're talking about are not Democratic voters. These are the red
Yeah.
hats. These are the Republican voters. These are the angry. And look, there's a reason to be angry, and I fully understand that. But these are the angry. These are the guys who, during that run up to the Affordable Care Act, were get your government hands off my Medicare. Never mind, Medicare is a government program, but and I lived not more than 45 minutes from where that happened. But these are those people who are the ones who know where their pitchforks are, and I think that's why Republicans may be starting to pay a little bit of attention, because it's not Democrats who are getting beat up; it's Republicans who are getting beat up.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting Democrats are getting beat up from the left, asking why aren't you doing anything a little bit, which I'm all for. But especially like what happened in Georgia, that was like the town hall where people were hacked off there. It was a Republican plus 22 district.
Yeah.
But it's not far from the CDC. So there are lots of people in that community who either work for the CDC or whose family works for the CDC, and now they don't have jobs because, again, like this is part of the slashing, the indiscriminate slashing of government, where they come in with this idea of, oh, we're going to cut waste, fraud, and abuse, but then they never actually look for waste, fraud, and abuse. They just fire everybody and then assume that the waste, fraud, and abuse will go out with them. But
that everything's waste, fraud, and abuse. Look, understand, to these people, everything government does is waste, fraud, and abuse. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter what they do for we the people. It's all waste, fraud, and abuse, because it's not privatized and it's not done for a profit, which is why this thing with Musk I find so amusing. We just talked with an official with AFGE about Musk's comment that you have to come forth with, with 5, justifications for your job. And those justifications aren't, hey, I helped Granny get Social Security, or I helped someone get benefits from the VA. No, this is about how I kicked Granny off of Medicare. This is how I got that disabled person disqualified from Medicaid. That's the kind of stuff they're looking for, and I think the more that this stuff happens, the more I hope people wake up.
And he's kind of given away the game a little bit, where I think it was on Valentine's Day, he tweeted something to the effect of, stop penalizing billionaires and making billionaires pay for all of your stuff.
Did he actually tweet that, or is that one of those gimmicky ones?
Oh, I don't know. It may have been one of those fake tweets.
But, again, it's another one of those, the Jay Gould quote of I could pay half the working class to murder the other half. I've had his biographer, come after me and say, there's nowhere where he actually said that. I go, but it sounds like something he'd say, right? And the answer is, yeah, it sounds like something any of those people in the robber baron era would have said. So, this is that same kind of thing. He may not have actually written it, but he meant it.
And I think the philosophy of basically tearing everyone else apart. Whether they're Democrats and Republicans could come together and fight back against these robber barons. The more they're tearing people apart, the less likely we are to rise up as a society and fight back against people like Musk. And
Always.
that has always been part of the game.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting you brought up, what's going on there in Georgia and, the CDC and all of that stuff. Because, heaven forbid, we don't want, let's say, I don't know, a measles outbreak somewhere, maybe somewhere like, I don't know, like Texas, where evidently we've got a pretty good size one going on as we speak, or as the meme I saw on social media, not measles, freedom sores.
Oh my God. That's really terrible. That's really terrible. Yeah. I mean, I guess start with measles, move on to leprosy. Um, but yeah, this is what happens, right? I mean, and it's not necessarily, RFK Jr.'s fault. It's just that this measles outbreak
Oh, I
really
disagree.
started go.
I
Well, it
disagree.
just really started going once I mean, not like as HHS secretary. I mean, he just got sworn in.
No, but
Um,
he has been
but
the
that
anti-vax
anti-vaxxer mentality.
for decades. Look, and I've told the story before. In 2002, when my daughter was born, he got me so freaked out that we were going to give my daughter autism because of the vaccines she was getting. And I spent hours reading. I read every bit of garbage that he put out, and then I went to my pediatrician, and she's like, "Don't be stupid." And she said, "You're smarter than this." And she then explained, what he was talking about and how the thimerosal that they put into these vaccines that they give to mice at a gazillion times what you would give any human, and it caused side effects in X amount of the mice. But none of the vaccines I was giving my child had any of this crap in it, and that he's just scaring the you know what out of people. And she goes, I got a bunch of you first time parents who are freaking out because of this. Stop it. Call me if you've got a question. And this is where I go back to fortunate to have doctors that I trust, people that I trust their profession and their expertise over some crackpot heroin brainworm moron who keeps selling nonsense like this stuff.
So interesting you talk about it. I had a nurse at my doctor's office who retired and moved to Hawaii, like you do when you're retiring and you are awesome. And I think she's still doing some medical stuff or at least volunteering. And she posted online on Facebook the other day a screen capture of a website where she's allowed to log in and then can look up the most updated information about whatever medical issue she needs to look up, and that whole website is gone. So, I mean, it's not just this idea of we're not going to fund the CDC, we're not going to fund vaccine awareness, we're not going to fund studies that promote vaccine awareness. Now we're taking away the work that's already been done, the stuff that's just on the internet for free that people can use as legitimate resources. And I mean, again, like it is this, it is a dumbing down of America, and it is a going after the world of science as part of making people stupider. And the stupider you are, the more likely you are to follow, whatever people tell you.
No,
So
ignorance is bliss. Like I said, I think I said this last week. The good thing about RFK Jr. being part of the head of HHS and destroying all this stuff is at least what's going to kill us, what's coming that will kill us. We won't know what it is, and we'll be that happened, and we'll be gone before it matters. We won't have to worry about it. We won't have to fret about it. We won't have to argue over it. We won't have to wear masks or socially distance or you know take medicines. Maybe we'll go back to praying to the wind god or something. I don't know how far back this goes, but I think they're working on it.
I think they are too. And don't take my loss of my voice as an indication that we're all, gonna die soon. Luckily, I've only had COVID and the flu and everything else, in the world. So I think for folks who, I mean, especially now, I think you're seeing something like uh, four different viruses that are going around. Like one of them's neurovirus, flu, COVID, and I think they said that about the flu that it's the lowest vaccine rate that they've had in years, and it's I want to say like 30,000 people have died from the flu of all things, and most of them are elderly and infants.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's starting to feel like they're just pouring bleach in the gene pool. I mean, some of these people. And I mean, it's tragic, and I don't know what kind of society we become whenever we deprioritize our health in that way.
Right. So for me, Sarah, the hope is, and again, I keep using this phrase: the solutions will come out of the suffering due to their savagery. As they're pushing this stuff, the hope is that the switch goes on in each one of us and goes, "This isn't the country we want. These aren't the people that should be anywhere near the halls of power. We want to value intelligence. We want to value expertise. We want a government that acts in our best interest." And maybe that's the pendulum that will come back. It's like any action, there's an equal or greater reaction. The hope is that us snapping awake and going, hey, maybe we don't hate the others as much as we care about ourselves. Maybe this swings back.
And I think too, like this is the idea of supporting government is a winning issue. One of the things that Hakeem Jeffries was talking about in one of his press conferences, I think maybe a week before last, was he was talking about how we're not going to, swing at every pitch. But at the same time, I'm like, bro, you're not swinging at anything. So the rest of us are just like, can we do something? And I think they act like they weren't prepared for this.
They weren't.
And but we went through all of 2024 hearing everything on Project 2025, and they were just like, here, this is what's going to happen, and none of them prepared for it.
Yeah.
I just, that blows me away. So I feel like it gives the opportunity for people, for Americans who are really hacked off, to act and not be co-opted by any sort of large funder coming in and trying to turn it into something. It genuinely is a grassroots effort on both sides. And
I've been saying, Sarah, look, I think Democrats should just leave Washington. Let Republicans do whatever they got to do. You got the keys. You got the vote. You got the majority. You have all the committees. You got it all. Good luck. We're going back into the districts. We're going to hold hearings. We're going to talk about all the horrible things you're doing, and with the red hats who are suffering, with your voters who are doing it. I would go into each one of their districts, and I would hold hearings on how their districts are suffering.
Yes. Oh my God. That is the kind of thing that, if Democrats really put money behind it and started doing those public hearings like that, God, that would be amazing. Because that's where you really get, legitimate people who are in those districts, who are suffering, who are who can talk about their family and in a really compelling way. And
that's how you get the guy going, get your government hands off my Medicare.
True.
There are education moments that come out of every one of those.
There are. But I think it also brings communities together. Yep. Where, I mean, one of the things about seeing all of these town halls is I think people are becoming more aware that this isn't just me. This isn't just my community. This isn't just my family. This is happening all over the country to everyone. And we really are all in this together.
There you go. It's that, to me, that simple. Finally, evidently, we've got a Department of Government Efficiency, right? We're talking about cutting. We got to cut the VA. We got to cut every department. We got to save money, Sarah. But Donald Trump wants a new Air Force, or a new helicopter.
I am just so shocked that. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be, right?
New Air Force One, new jet, new all. He wants all new stuff.
He just bought a new Air Force One. Remember, like it was his term whenever he decided, oh, we're going to do this new thing, and they brought it in during Biden's term. So it's not like it's that old. And I'm just like, the thing about this whole Doge deal is the budget plan that Trump has sort of brought in is going to just spend more and more money. So a lot of the members that we had talked to last week, who were the deficit hawk guys, are like, why am I spending more money while we're supposed to be trying to cut things? You
Yeah.
know, so
Need new stuff.
that's what's going to end up, I think, breaking the Republican Party in Congress is those deficit guys. They're not going to have the votes because Democrats are going to be a no, and the deficit hawks are going to be a no. So good luck.
I still think the Democrats don't even go to Washington. Save the
Yeah,
airfare.
I
Use
agree.
that
I love
airfare.
the public hearing idea.
Find
That's
a
brilliant.
pet, find a pet Republican and go to his district or her district. Hold hearings in their district. That's what I would do.
Yes, adopt a Republican's district.
That's it. Adopt a Republican. There you go. Sarah, as always, great stuff. Appreciate it. Keep up the great work.